give everybody a minute to start here. It is a good day here, May 31st. And so we just want to go ahead and get started. Just want to make sure that I can see the chat here. Okay, there we go. I got it. All right, guys, let's get going, all right? See how many people have joined here. Just give it a second. All right, Monopoly Money's in. Connor, welcome. Looks like streaming's a little bit behind, so hazards of country Wi-Fi right now until I move. So, all right, let's get going. So, first thing that I want to talk about today, lots and lots to talk about. 0.3.2 is out, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But the first thing that I want to talk about is our strategy for our full product suite. You guys have probably been hearing a little bit of rumblings about the fact that we have a third product that's in development. I put a sort of just teaser tweet out there that that's the case because it's true. We have a third product in development. I'm not going to announce the full product today, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about our strategy, overall strategy, how we came to realize that we needed a third product, and then sort of the timeline going forward. So, hello everyone, William and everybody out there saying hi. Thank you for being here. So, all right, let's get started. So, we do have a third product in development. I just want to talk a little bit about our goals for our full product suite, right? So, things that we want to accomplish with the full product suite. We want the products to be self-sufficient, so they're not reliant on any outside third-party product. We want basically them to be able to stand on their own. It's not to say that we're not using any code repos, basically things that enable you to get a faster leg up, because we are things that are open source, some at a foundational level. But we don't want to be reliant on the success of another business in order for us to be successful and for us to move forward. So self-sufficiency is one. Interoperable is another. So we want the products to work together, the three products to work together. We want them to be tightly integrated, so together, but loosely coupled so they can stand on their own. So how did we come to realize that we basically needed a third product? Well, we realized that in order to be self-sufficient and in order to have Substratum node and Substratum host and CryptoPay be able to stand on their own, that we needed a third product to fill a certain void. I'm not going to talk about exactly what that void is today because it'll give it away, but basically we realized that we needed that in order to be able to accomplish those things of standing on their own, okay? So all products within the suite have three stages, right? Stage number one is it needs to work on its own. So loosely coupled, right, can stand on its own. It needs to be able to be sufficient by itself. It needs to be able, so Substratum node should be able to run by itself. CryptoPay should be able to run by itself. Product number three should be able to run by itself. However, if you're an Apple user at all, right? I'm an Apple user, love Apple products, love me or hate me, whatever. But if you're using one Apple product, it's good, right? And I use an iPhone, iPhone's good. The more products that I start to bring in as part of that product suite, the better that the user experience becomes. So if I use an Apple iPhone and I also have an iPad and I have a Mac and I'm using iCloud, all three of those things work well together. And then add on things like an Apple TV or a HomePod or whatever, all those things work well together. So you're able to take that, what would normally be disjointed if I used products from multiple people, and put it into one big user experience that is my digital life, basically, the way that I interact with things digitally. And so that's, in the spirit of that, is basically sort of how we move forward. So the second phase is it needs to work together. It needs to be tightly integrated, the three products, or multiple products after that. And then the third phase is that it needs to work well for others. And by that I mean developers, needs to work well for organizations who want to basically utilize these to be able to reach their blockchain or decentralized goals. And so if you look at like node and host, right? So the first few stages are that it's developed and it works well by itself, and then works with things like CryptoPay, and then as we start doing payouts and conversions and things like that. And then the third stage of that will be where people are able, developers and organizations are able to take and use that as a platform, right? And that's really where the magic is in this space. So you're able to take that and, just like Apple did with the App Store, be able to take and say, okay, this phone is great by itself and we could develop some really cool apps for it as a company because we're a big company, but we can't do what, user generated content is just basically years ago, decade ago, was sort of defined as Web 3.0 or whatever, right? There's variations on what term Web 3.0 means, but user generated content, right? And that's the same as in apps, right? So you have, YouTube, YouTube itself could generate some great content. They even do now, right? But the majority of YouTube content comes from third-party contributors, people who want to contribute their content. Facebook, right? It's people are contributing their content about their daily life. And the reason that that's great is because as people interact together, then they're able to share that content back and forth. And so it's able to grow exponentially. Twitter, you look at any example out there, and then you look at the example of how that bridges over into technology within the App Store. So like within Apple's App Store. So they have Apple apps, and those are great. But if you look at the majority of apps that you use on your phone, they're not from Apple. And the same thing in the Google App Store, right? They're built by third parties. And so it's enabling the great developers and companies that are out there, giving them the tools to be able to use the platform to reach their goals. And as part of that, that helps us. Helps us as a community, helps us as a company, because they're taking and they're scaling out the content that's available on the network vertically very, very fast. And so that is the third stage for all these products. So Node and Host will be and allowing people to be able to, or developers and organizations to reach their decentralized goals for the internet. So whether that's building an application that runs fully decentralized and runs on top of Substratum, whatever, right? So it enables them to reach those goals. And then as we roll over into CryptoPay, the third stage will be having tools where basically people can build their own apps in regards to processing goods and service transactions through cryptocurrency, right? But enabling them to have their own tool, and CryptoPay sit as that base layer underneath. And then, the third product is actually perhaps the biggest of these because there's nothing like it out there in the space where a company is providing tools for people to build on top of this type of platform and be able to do their own things within this type of platform, although it's done every day by every one of us probably in this community. So that's a sort of a quick summary of how these things fit together. Rolling out from the initial plan, we realized that we needed this. It's not something where we're diverting from our original vision. It's not. It's something where we're basically expanding on that original vision to realize that we need this in order to be able to fully succeed and to reach those three stages and those goals. So I'm like bursting at the gills to tell you more about it, but I can't yet. So I can tell you that we've had really, really strong support for this privately amongst people that we trust, and there will be a way for you to get involved in the future. So the timeline for this right now is you'll continue to hear a little bit more about this as we go on over the next couple of months. I'm planning a full announcement, which I'm going to do live, which will be a presentation at the office sometime in August. So we'll announce that ahead of time. People that want to attend can attend. We'll also stream it live. So you'll have basically a good chance, and there will be ways for you guys to get involved early if you want and to help us out. So that's all that I can say about it today, although I could talk for hours and hours if I could tell you more about it, but I can't. So we'll break off with that. So let's talk about 0.3.2. Substratum Node 0.3.2 was released today. So again, yesterday in my little teaser video I put out, it'd be available very soon. So when I say that, you guys probably can start to get a feel for what I mean. Let me tell you a little bit about what's in it. Again, we released 0.3.0 3 weeks ago tomorrow, so just under 3 weeks. And we had great feedback, so we let that run in for about 2 weeks. And then last Friday, we released 0.3.1, which enabled people to remove the manual configuration options. You don't have to go in and manually set your DNS or anything like that. And you can just basically flip 2 switches and be off and using it. Now, as I said last week, there are still outliers of that we're getting to, multiple NICs. So if you have multiple NIC cards, if you're manually setting your DNS, so things that people would consider power users, although maybe that's not your definition of a power user, but basically people who are going outside the standard configuration options for your system, those are things that we are basically weaving into the backlog now. So more and more it will get better and better as time goes on. So this week, which basically we're 6 days out, 4 working days from the last time we released a binary on this. As you can see, we're moving very, very fast. There were some issues for particularly Windows users. Windows 10 users was the big thing. And there was an issue. It really comes down to the way developers name their usernames, which is all one word with, underscores or, weird characters in it, versus what we call probably normal people, who would put spaces and weird characters in there, right? So this solved that. And so that's, if you install the new version and you are one of those Windows 10 users, you should be able to they should remove a majority of those issues. So go ahead if you had issues and download the new binary and give it a try today. Additionally, is incorporated a faster build process, and as I just said, there's multiple network cards are still being addressed. We do want to give a shout out to CB. I probably will butcher his last name, Vershave. So CB Vershave. Forgive me if I butchered your name. He's a good buddy here on our we have a small group within the larger group for Substratum super fans sort of and moderators, and basically he helped us identify that Windows 10 issue, so we appreciate your help on that. What's the roadmap forward with Node? Again, is we'll continue doing these minor fixes every so often and minor improvements, but the big roadmap forward, major milestones, is the next one is 0.4, which will incorporate the full user experience, optimized for each full user interface, optimized for each user experience within each operating system. So whether you're on Linux, Windows, or Mac OS, it will incorporate the neighborhoods function, so full decentralization. I think I talked about it last week. Dan and the team have been putting together a virtual test net, and so basically firing up multiple nodes on single machines virtually, and then able to working on getting those things connected in a decentralized manner. So, again, the initial step of being able to route all traffic inward was the very first step, because as Substratum node runs at a system level, we need to be able to handle all traffic through Substratum nodes. So again, that was the first step and a very, very big step. So it's basically taking that away from the operating system, routing it through Substratum node, and taking it away from an external DNS lookup and routing it through Substratum node. Next step of doing that, which again, this enables you to open up the entire internet, not just sites hosted on the Substratum network, but the entire internet. So Facebook, YouTube, Google, top 100 sites in the world, and every other one besides that. The next step is basically enabling that traffic to get passed between nodes, right, in a decentralized manner. And there's a lot of, intelligence that goes into that from a computer perspective, from a networking perspective. And so that is a great leap forward in engineering that we need to take. So that is the next step. And then the third step is basically the monetization part. And we've talked a little bit about this, but people who run Substratum nodes are now going to be able to be incentivized and receive Substratum for every single request that goes through the network, whether it's hosted on the network or whether it's hosted in the open web. So as I've said, we've been able to create a hybrid web, which to my knowledge, nobody else is even attempting to do. So, there's other companies out there trying to create a decentralized web, but it is strictly for sites that are hosted on their network. And so, and that was our original plan in the white paper. It was just done a little bit differently, but we've been able to go a step beyond that, a huge step beyond that, because, people who are over in China, for them to be able to access the sites on the Substratum network or whatever the competitor is, that's wonderful. But when they want to get to Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, people who are not going to host on something decentralized for this foreseeable future until things get much faster, our solution is the only one out there that I know of that is even attempting to do that. And we are able to do that. And so it's exciting to see that going forward. And I really think that's going to set us apart in the space and make us the clear leader. So not sure what that is. Okay, so let's go on to, I'm sorry. So at that point, 0.5.0 actually becomes version 1, production version 1. And, we will then go from there. So next thing I want to talk about is CryptoPay. So CryptoPay is actually moving extremely fast. Again, it was slated for later in the year to even be started. So it's exciting to see it coming together. We've completed branding on it. We're working on dedicated social channels for CryptoPay. So very soon we'll be sort of probably tweeting that out and asking people to come and follow that as well, so that you can get dedicated CryptoPay announcements and dedicated CryptoPay YouTube videos, so that we're not, again, we'll probably still talk about it here on this main channel, but we want to be able to deliver that as its own sort of product. Again, loosely coupled, they can stand on their own, but tightly integrated with each other. So development's going great every week. They're making more and more progress, and actually partnership development is going really well. So whereas Substratum, a lot of big companies probably don't like what we're doing because it subverts authority and subverts things like firewalls and things like that, where CryptoPay, people are all ears. They want to be part of that. So we have some exciting partnerships potentially in the works that are being worked on, and when those happen, we'll definitely look forward to announcing those to you. So I want to talk a little bit about next week. Next week's an exciting week. We are going to be doing a ton of sort of meetings in the office, but as part of that, we've decided to sort of combine some of our live feeds. So Abram is going to have me as a guest on his Crypto and Coffee. I'm not sure if anybody else will join me, but we're going to kind of do that together and see what we can talk about. And then as we announced on Twitter yesterday or last night, we are going to be doing a Ask Me Anything session Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. live on YouTube. Should be putting up a forum here very soon on the website where I think that's probably how we'll do it, but where people can submit questions early. So if you want to make sure your question gets looked at and potentially gets answered, then you'll want to go ahead and fill that out. And then I might see if I can rope some of the guys into my live stream on Thursday at 4 o'clock. So we'll see. Sublock happened this week on Tuesday. On Tuesday. Kristen Smith spoke about open source at Substratum and spoke about, basically dove into the Substratum node code. And I was not able to make that, but from what I hear, it went amazingly well. We did not live stream. We leave that up to the actual speaker if they want to be live streamed or not. And so it apparently went very, very well, and everyone loved it. So congratulations to Kristen for doing that. Next month, I will be speaking at Sublock. I got roped in. So I'm going to be talking about how we find and develop ideas. And then also I'm going to do some small things on lessons learned from our ICO. So if you're looking to run an ICO or want to know more about ICOs, would be worth attending. And also, if you're interested in just sort of the process that we take to take some of my crazy way out there ideas and then sort of vet them and see if they're worthwhile, and then go through the technical vetting part and research and development spikes, and then going into actual, moving forward with things like fundraising or development. So if you're interested in any of that, feel free to attend. It is June 26th, I think, at 7 o'clock. There is an RSVP form out there on meetup.com, and we did tweet that out. So if you are interested or know you're going to attend, then if you wouldn't mind, filling that out so that we know, really that's just so we know how much food to buy, because we offer food to everyone, and then make sure we have plenty of swag there. And we'll probably do some giveaways, because I like to do giveaways when I'm there. So if you can do that, do it. If not, and you can make it at the last minute, feel free to show up. We will live stream that as well, I'm sure. So you can look for that as well. Number 7, we'll talk about the net neutrality sort of promotion that we have going on out there. Quite a few people have done that. We'll be putting a form up, because you have, again, till June 11th, which is, I guess it's the week after next. But June 11th to do that. That's when net neutrality is slated to end. And so we're running through that time. There's 4 ways that you can participate. Well, there's 3 levels you can participate. You have to follow and... there's 4. Okay, so you have to follow and retweet one of the tweets that we have out there on Twitter. So that gets you into level 1. I believe we're giving away a MacBook there, or maybe 2 MacBooks, I'm not sure. Level 2 is you had to form your own tweet. And again, go look at the tweet out on Twitter that talks about it. You have to use 2 hashtags, net neutrality, and then neutral net with sub. And you can form your own tweet. You can do that as many times as you want. If you want to enter a bunch of times, and we're going to pick people from that to give away, I want to say it's iPhone X's. And then the third level is if you've done the other two levels and you own sub, then there'll be a form going up where you can basically put out there or upload your sub verification ahead of time. We're doing it ahead of time now because there's some people trying to game the system last time. And again, as I said, one of them got through after they had already won. Anyway, regardless. So this ensures up front that we're getting the right person. So there'll be a form that you upload that shows your sub ownership, and those are eligible to win iPads, I believe it is. And then the fourth and final way is buying sub. So if you, whether you own sub now or not, if you go and you make a new purchase of Substratum between the time that we announced it and June 11th, then that is a way to be eligible for level 4. And there will be a way where you go and you just upload a screenshot of your sub purchase to us, and we will pick 2 people out of that to receive 10,000 sub each, which is hovering between $4,000 and $5,000 right now. So that's a good amount. You know, that's worthwhile. I mean, I would be entering if I was eligible. So, and not the one giving it away. Anyway, so the number 8 way is the ambassador program. So, or number 8, I'm sorry, number 8 thing I want to talk about today is the ambassador program. Again, that as I talked about in the live or the teaser video yesterday, it's going really, really great. Received hundreds of people. Thank you all for applying. Absolutely appreciate your interest. We have a couple people going through that spreadsheet, and basically just so you know what they're looking for is they're looking at social feeds, at anywhere you've been in Telegram, where you've talked about sub. We just want to make sure that we're getting people who are truly passionate about sub to be our ambassadors, that we're really putting our best foot and best face forward with the community as we expand outward globally. So they're looking for that, and then they're going through basically a status of, you know, approve or need more information. So you will be reached out to very soon. I know we are more than halfway through the list, probably 3/4 at this point, and so we'll be reaching out to people with what your status is and whether you're just approved, whether we need more information back, and then we'll start the process of getting you guys working on things. So we totally appreciate you guys being willing to help us. I think that is absolutely going to be tremendous for the project as a whole. And so last thing before I go into some Q&A, a lot of people have asked how to get Substratum swag. There will be a swag store going up this summer. We have a couple interns coming to work in the office. My oldest son is one of them, so as a dad, very proud of that. And they will be working on things like that, things that are not super high time sensitive things that like we work on every day, but things that need to get done and we just haven't had time. And one of those is the swag store. So that will be going up soon. We've already purchased a lot of product. If you come to a subblock, you get it for free. We just give it away. But so some of that product will be going out to sublocks for global sublocks to give away. And then some of it will be available within the store to be purchased. Again, the goal is not to make money off this. We just want people who are passionate about it to be able to wear the gear and be able to tell their friends and family about it, because we want to get the word out. And I am a firm believer that there's absolutely nothing better in this world than word of mouth. So that's my spiel for today. Let me jump over here into questions. Let's see what we got going on here. Yes, I have a new audio thing here, so if it's only in your left ear, sorry. I'm working on getting it fixed. I just have not had time. Evil Cube is using Node to watch this. That's awesome. Yeah, the lag is because it's storming here and the internet is really bad for some reason right now. I'm not sure why. Okay, what is to stop China from starting a couple of subnodes on its own, work with their ISP to trace the connections, and start to build a blacklist? So that's actually a good question, and you believe it or not, we've actually thought of that. The thought process is that if you are within a protected region, that the very first hop leaves that protected region. So additionally, if you watch the Core's video and watch Dan's video, a node never knows other than its direct neighbor nodes, so one over. So they couldn't just start up one or two nodes and build an IP list of all the nodes within China. They can't do that, or even without out of China, they can't do that. It's not possible. So, so that's that. But yes, basically we have identified that. And no, Judah says they could literally blacklist every IP that their sub-networked PC initiates the sessions with. Well, then that would only be two. They can block the one to the left and the one to the right. And in theory, they can't really do it anyway, but even by identifying those two, it wasn't so much that we were concerned about them being blocked because the software takes care of that. We were more concerned about them tracking people down, right? And so that's, because the last thing I want to do is build a product that gets anybody hurt or anybody in trouble. So we've gone through great lengths to make sure that this product is safe for you to use. Understandably, it's still a risk inside those countries, which is why we have premium payouts for people within those countries. However, we've gone through great lengths to make sure that that never happens. Again, the point of if I'm on the sub network and China boots up a node and finds out that I'm their nearest neighbor, and they could track down my physical IP address, even though China doesn't work that way, like shared IP pools or something like that. But even if they didn't, even if they could track down to find me, we want to make sure that we protect against that by making that first hop leave the actual country, so where they have no jurisdictional authority. So, sorry your right ear is lonely. I will figure it out before the next one. Doesn't look like too many questions out there. Your systems in relation to EU censorship, Article 13, June 21st. Any info? Yeah, so Article 13 within the European Union, the copyright directive, if memory serves, I've done a video on this before, basically talks about content. So there being a responsibility and onus on people who run websites. So let's say YouTube, based in the EU, or because they service EU customers, they would be responsible for making sure they know all kinds of stuff about content that's uploaded, right? So it's a form of censorship, or it's a gateway to the form of censorship. So yes, so it is similar to it's similar to all these things of internet censorship around the world: Iran, Russia, China, European Union, the UK, I believe it was last week. I put a news article up where they said they were going to make the UK's internet the safest internet in the world, which, as I spoke about last week, the safest internet in the world outside of not having internet is China, because it is extremely regulated, extremely censored. And so by them saying that's their goal, then they're basically also saying that they are going to heavily censor the internet. And then all the way, I mean, there's tons of countries in South America that do the same thing. So it is literally a global problem. United States, getting rid of their net neutrality laws. And so, as I've said before, because there's arguments on both sides of this, the argument for not having net neutrality laws is that it stifles innovation to have them, right? And I sort of agree with that, right? I agree. I think anytime there's regulation, it stifles innovation. Regulation stifles innovation, bottom line. But not having, just saying, go to the other side and saying we don't need net neutrality is wrong as well, because we do. We need an even playing field for everybody. So what's the answer? As I've said before, the answer is a technological answer. The answer is using technology to ensure that the internet is free and fair for everybody across the board to use, and they all have access to the same information. So that is the answer, not a political one. I've worked in politics many years ago for a long time, wrote software for presidential campaigns, congressional campaigns, senatorial, gubernatorial, for the largest organizations in the country. Not allowed to say the name because it would violate my agreement, but the largest organizations in the country, right, that do this. So I've seen politics up close, and the more I saw it, the more I disliked it, and that's why I don't do anything with it anymore. So we need liberty. We need everything to be free. We need internet censorship to be gone. And the way to do that is a permanent technological solution that can't be stopped. And that's what we are developing, right? A true neutral internet without political intervention and without, intervention by governments. I'm not governments, I'm sorry, corporations. So governments or corporations. We don't need either of that. We need technology to be the answer, right? So... Well, Alberto Castro, you better apply, buddy. Madhu, I will not try your last name because I will mess it up. It's asking about, since there's already a crypto service named CPay, CryptoPay, any issues from a marketing service perspective? The answer to that is no. We've had our attorneys look into it in depth. Matter of fact, long before this company called themselves CryptoPay, and they're, I believe, a UK-based company who was trying to do something similar to 10x with debit cards or whatever. But prior to them, there's numerous companies out there using a product or whatever named CryptoPay, but there's nothing trademarked, and so we're in the process of doing that. So with it, and it's pending. So we will be using the name CryptoPay. We've said before, someone asked a question about the Ethereum network and worried about it clogging. So we've actually talked about this before, and we actually do have plans down the way, but I'm just not going to talk about them yet. So Ethereum, amazing platform, absolutely. And I know they're dealing with scalability issues. However, I am a fan because they are truly decentralized. EOS, interesting platform, not truly decentralized. Forget what it is, 25 nodes or something like that. So I think there's benefit to that because of speed, but I think you need a sort of a combined solution that integrates both distributed, which is what they are, versus fully decentralized. And so I think you need sort of a hybrid approach, and that's something we're looking at. Are you a billionaire? No. Multiple people asking about basically the ambassador program. So you will hear back soon. All right, I think that's about it. Will subholders benefit from CryptoPay? So last question I'll answer, and then we'll call it off. So yes, absolutely. CryptoPay uses the sub token. So basically, there will be a feature where people can reduce transaction fees by using the sub token. And if anybody who knows trading knows that additional volume drives price. Majority of the time, volume spikes. So that will drive a lot of volume because people will be using the token. So yes, anytime someone is using the token for the program, it's going to be beneficial to people who are token holders. So CryptoPay uses the Substratum token. So yes, it does. All right, guys. When are we getting some slick UI? 0.4.0. So all right, guys. Appreciate you being here, and next week again make sure that you tune in. We will be having Wednesday afternoon the AMA at 4:30, so that will be live on the Substratum YouTube channel. Wednesday morning is Crypto and Coffee with Abram, and I'm going to join him for that, so I will be his guest. And then Thursday afternoon is our live feed, and I'll try to rope some of the guys in with me on that. And so make sure that you take part of that, because we have exciting stuff every week. We're moving faster than ever, and I just appreciate you guys all being a part of it. So until next time,